Hi everybody, Joel from RC Max UK here. Hope you're doing very well. A quick look here at the new ARRMA Kraton 8S, which I picked up on Saturday. It's about 2 days ago. I haven't used it yet, but I thought I'd give you a quick look just to show you what's coming on the channel in the near future. It's very, very big. The body looks really cool. It just generally looks like a cool truck. There's a few things about it I'm not sure about, but we're not going to talk about them now. So videos on this to come, and of course I've got the X-Max V2, so a lot of the videos will be comparing the two of them, because they're two kind of cars that cost the same amount of money. They've got a similar audience, bashers. Yeah, I suppose they're going to be compared to one another, although to be honest they are very, very different platforms. But anyway, so yeah, lots on these two to come, lots on the Kraton 8S to come in the near future. Okay, so this is the ARRMA Kraton 6S V4 that I bought fairly recently. I don't have the car anymore, I did pass it on, but this is my review and my little bit of thoughts on the car while I had it. Here it's brand new. I used it on 4S on grass for the first time, had a quick look over it. A few things I really like: the body tethers, they're very, very good. An ARRMA item that ARRMA has come up with that works very, very well. So it helps you not lose your body clips, which is very, very good, because body clips are annoying because they're easy to lose. Now, I do like the ARRMA Kraton tyres. They're nice and soft. They feel a little bit thin maybe, but they've got a lot of grip, a lot of tread, and they work well on this car. Quite a bit of ballooning, but that's kind of handy for flips and things. And because they're kind of soft and big, they have a bit of cushioning. The wing is kind of gets caught up on the shocks there, which I'm not sure I quite liked, but I like the wing. I like the general look of the car. It's got the usual wide, truggy stance. That bit of the chassis at the back there is the kind of weak spot, or the spot that I don't like the look of. It's very narrow and it's very long. And if it's going to bend, that's exactly where it's going to bend, I reckon, just at the back there, where it gets very thin. So, and I know a lot of people do bend the chassis on these, using them kind of heavy on skate parks and stuff like that, which is, is going to happen, to be fair. Sliding motor mount, the sort of standard style on the center diff there, and a nice roll cage at the top. Very, very good battery trays, and the way the wiring is generally kept neat and tidy with these clips. That's another ARRMA thing that they're doing at the moment. And ARRMA are very, very, very good at wire management. They got the top brace now on these V4s, which I also like, but it's a bit of a pain to get out of the way. The front cover's there to keep dirt out of the car, and yeah, there's lots of nice little features that are cool. The electronics that you get in here, it's a decent setup, basically, I would say. I didn't have any problems with the electronics. The motor got a bit hot, but nothing that was out of hand. It seemed very reliable. The servo does its job, although, of course, it's an RTR, typical RTR kind of setup. I didn't like the look of the standard bearings. They're not rubber shielded, and they look kind of cheap to me. Because they're not shielded, you can get quite a lot of dirt in there quite easily. Where the body pins go in there at the back and at the front, it's quite wide, which helps to support the body, which I also like. One thing that I have to commend ARRMA on is their pricing. Now, these cars, generally speaking, are good value for money compared to something like a Traxxas, which is their kind of direct competitors, I suppose. Okay, so this is the very first time I used it. This is on 4S only, and I've got to say, in general, out on an open field like this, 4S, I was a bit underwhelmed. But it does look pretty nippy and flighty here, but in truth, out in a big open space, you need big power to be excited, I think. So generally speaking, I found 4S to be just a bit lacking and a bit too easy to drive, if anything. A bit of grip roll, as you can see here on the grass, but nothing that you couldn't get used to and I suppose iron out. But it didn't roll too much. Wheelies were possible on 4S, but not maybe massive, and the brakes seemed pretty good. Top speed seemed alright on 4S as well. I kept totally standard out of the box gearing. I know that you can up the gearing, and a lot of people do up the gearing to the second pinion that's included in the packet, which is a bit of a higher speed gearing. And people say that 4S on that higher pinion is a good setup, but I wanted to keep it standard. So again, this is 4S at a different spot. The first time jumping it, What I found jumping it was that the brakes were way too strong, but you can adjust them on the ESC to lower the initial brake force, so that's what you should definitely do. And also the controller. The controller is really slow to react, so add the sharp brakes and the slow to react controller, and you do end up with quite a lot of difficulty controlling this car in the air, especially on 4S. Now, durability was a bit of a mixed bag, so by and large, overall, I found it very durable. No trouble, nose landings, a lot of crashes, cartwheels, no problem at all. But I did have a couple of annoying little things, which were the rear shock eyelets. I broke 2 rear shock eyelets. One on this run, first time using the 6S, which was a bad sort of sideways crash that's kind of out of shot, so you don't quite see it, which is that one. That was a broken rear eyelet, which you can see there. Just basically the very bottom shock mount. It just opens up and snaps. It's a cheap, easy fix. I used a Traxxas part actually in the end. The RPM Traxxas / eyelets go straight on, and they're the recommended upgrade. I also used a Mugen part because I just happened to have a Mugen spare part, and that held up fine as well. But on the next time I used the car, a different spot, which was here, I used 6S only, and I went for it a bit more. I started to realise that with a kind of laggy controller, the best way to control the car, I found anyway, in the air, was to just go for it. Go for it 100%. Don't try and be like, I hit a rock here. I hit a big, massive rock here, and that's testament, I think, to the durability of the car. Smashed straight into this rock, head on, dented the body there, which popped out, right into that, which did not move at all. It stopped the car dead. And I was expecting all sorts of broken parts, and nothing was broken at all, so I just carried on. So yeah, 6S jumping, you'll see here, I use the car just very aggressively. The ground is very hard, very dusty, very rocky, and it was landing hard. That was me trying to be delicate with it, because I was crashing a couple of times. And then I realised, no, I've just got to go for it. That was my first backflip. And then once I'd done that, it was just backflips, 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 just constantly. So it was very, very good at backflips. Easy as anything on 6S. Even on a ramp like this, which is just a dirt hill, which was very, very bumpy, as you can see, backflips were easy. And the car had a lot of sketchy, hard landings still in the rough there, and I didn't break anything until the end, when I was getting a bit excited, and I broke another rear shock. So 2 simple parts, cheap parts to replace. Durability, A-arms shocks, other than that part. The chassis I did not bend. I can see how people easily bend these chassis. Aluminium chassis, it's not a billet chassis or anything like that. And going the height that you can go with this off a skate park ramp, which is what people of course use them for, you're going to bend the chassis. I don't think that's any surprise at all. Right, so upgrades wise, what would I do if I did anything? Well, a couple of things I did. One was the Traxxas RPM shock, the bottom shock eyelet mounts, Traxxas RPM parts, I put them on. And the other thing I went for pretty much straight away after this run actually was the RPM bumper, because I think the bumper on this is just too small. It doesn't really do anything much, so to protect that front end, a good bumper. The other thing I would have got if I'd kept the car would have been a rear chassis skid plate, which you can get a metal chassis skid plate, which kind of strengthens up that rear thin section at the same time as having a plate to stop the chassis wearing out of the back. So yeah, they're the main upgrades I would go for. I think it's a good car. Obviously, I've passed it on. I didn't pass it on because I didn't like it. I may well buy another one in the future. If you're after a 6S basher at the moment in time and you want the best value, the best durability for that value, I think you can't really go wrong with the ARRMA Kraton. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoy the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. And as you've seen, ARRMA Kraton 8S to come. All right, keep your eyes peeled. Catch you in the next one. See you guys.